first of all, thanks to all of you for the last couple of days. It's been amazing. I thought last year was great. I feel the energy is even better. The collaborative nature of what we're trying to do and accomplish as a community, even better. So hopefully you're getting as much out of this as I know CJ is and myself is, but really appreciate the time. Excited about this panel. They kept saying, no, we're going to do this AI panel. Do you want to, do you have any input? And I go, no, I want to chair the panel. I go, oh, no, you got a lot going on. We need you to be, no, I want to be part of the panel, not watching it from. So I forced my way into this session, and I'm very excited to have done so. So I am going to start with an opening remark, and then we'll introduce the panel members. So the whole premise of this is, turning AI discovery into commerce and using trust as the new signal for this. And that was, again, part of my opening yesterday, but really a theme for the whole conference. So over the last few years, we've watched this shift begin and how consumers really discover and then purchase. Nearly 70% of searches today end without a click. We know this, but that hits you right between the eyes. How many of those searches, a year ago would have been, part of the click channel? We all want to say the funnel has collapsed. Intent, discovery, and decision-making are happening right inside the AI results stream. And the answers people most trust are often the ones they act on without ever leaving that domain. But it isn't just about AI search. We're seeing the same thing play out in streaming TV, social search. It's everywhere. Everybody's taken the path that they think is going to be the most productive for them to make a good decision, and they want to purchase wherever they are. That's all part of what we're going to talk about today. We have a great panel set up for this. Again, it was one of the ones I was most excited about. I say that in every session. I can't, the finance panel was amazing. But we've had some good content. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. So let me welcome the panelists to the stage.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves and tell a little bit about their company and the relevance to the topic. So I'll start to my left here with Josh.
Yeah, I am Josh Lanzette. Lovely to meet you all. Really glad no one was sitting over there. That's my bad side. So this is great.
You don't have a bad side.
Oh, next time I'm feeling sad, I'm going to call you. No, I am the CEO and co-founder of Silver. Silver is an AI-driven fashion recognition engine that makes everything you watch a shoppable experience. So imagine if you're watching Emily in Paris. I can tell a lot of fans in this room.
I love that show. I love that show, yeah.
It's a great show.
Great show.
We can all talk whatever we want about it, but we all watch it. But let's say you're watching Emily in Paris, you see a dress that you love, you can pause your screen, click on it, buy it, and go right back to viewing without the need for a QR code, extension, overlay, or download. So that's what I do. I spent 13 years at Google. Very happy to be out here doing this.
I'm glad you mentioned Emily in Paris. We did a content integration with the McDonald's episode.
That's why I did it. That's why I said it.
Investieri, who's a CJ client, had a product placement. So all roads lead back to Emily in Paris.
So, so I'm at the, what I guess we all affectionately know as the mothership at Publicis. So I help coordinate our product strategy at Publicis Media, which is M&A, product integrations, how we engage with our large-scale partners. Excited to be here. Thanks for the invite.
We buy a little bit of media at Publicis.
Yeah, a little bit.
So we have a little bit of
just a hint.
Just a hint of it.
Yep.
Hey everybody, my name is Scott Hendrickson, CRO of a company called Firmly.ai. Our technology enables a consumer to check out with a merchant without a redirect. So the checkout happens natively within a third-party environment. Our technology is exclusively used to power Perplexity shopping, which I'm sure many of you have seen. Technology is also used by a multitude of other players like PayPal and Furniture.com. We had a big announcement, two big announcements this week. One was planned, one really wasn't. The one that was planned was with our great partners at CJ. We're working together to enable native shopping for all CJ publishers and merchants. But the one that's a bit last minute was we had a big announcement today with MasterCard, where we're a part of their agentic playbook. So great honor to be working with them as well. So they had the plan, and then they decided that, you know what, you guys need to be part of it too. So we said,
congratulations.
Sounds awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, big announcements in the industry are good for all of us. Yeah.
Great for everybody. Yeah, exactly.
Well, excellent. I'm gonna start with Josh and kind of work our way around. We've given them a little bit of prep, but for the most part, this is going to be an adventure. So consumers aren't browsing just the 10 blue links that they're getting anymore on Google searches. They're asking a question and getting synthesized answers. In some cases, they can complete the purchase right there. Should we think of AI as a search engine, a storefront, a decision engine? And what does that mean for how brands, publishers, agencies approach visibility?
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
right.
I think that when we think about AI, it takes a lot of different forms. Obviously, we have LLMs, agentic AI, computer vision. We have all these different things. So I think it's difficult to kind of say one solid comment that hits it out of the park. But I think what I would say is that right now, I think when you look at AI, it's a lot more about the funnel from inspiration to purchase. I think that's really what we're looking at. I think right now, when you look at the system as it currently stands today, tracking inspiration has never been super important to all of us in the way that our analytics are built, right? A lot of analytics still work on a last click model. When you look at things like that, it's not about the inspiration, it's about who kind of tipped it at the very tail end into the goal. I'm not trying to...
I mean, no disparaging those that you tip into the goal. At the
No.
end, right?
Tipping into the goal is important. But I do think it's important to also measure where that inspiration comes from. And I think as brands right now, what's most important in my eyes, and I'm just one person, so take this with a grain of salt, but I do really believe it's shortening that track as much as you can and removing all the friction as much as you can from inspiration to purchase. How can we get there in the fastest way in a way that is not only seamless, but is also intuitive to a user? That's kind of how I view it. I'm very talkative, so I could talk for 10 years, but that's kind of my,
That's fair.
my thoughts.
Any other comments, or we move on to the next?
Yeah, I mean, I'll weigh in. So I'm fascinated by the AI search engines, and I think how easy they make absolutely everything, and it can look at them as answer engines, because you put something in, you get the answer immediately. There's not a lot of work, and I think the impact on the purchase funnel, if I look back to different points in time, when you look at when e-commerce came into market and then mobile came in. When mobile came in as part of a startup that ultimately was bought by PayPal, and we kind of coined a phrase that the purchase funnel became more of a purchase pretzel, because the phone allowed you to immediately start jumping around, and it broke everything, right? And now you look at it with AI search, it's almost like an accordion, because you start broad, you say, I'm looking for something, also immediately drives you right down, right? To this is the answer. You may or may not like the answer, so then you start another prompt. So then you prompt, and then it goes back up, and it comes back down. And so at some point, it gets you, and it gets you what you want. So the question is, are you transacting at that moment in time, or does it make sense to force the consumer to now go through 15 more clicks, right? And logically, it doesn't make any sense, right? Just give them what they want, let them buy it right then and there. Or if it's a piece of information, let them get it and then move on with their lives. And so I think how we as marketers kind of influence that and take advantage of that new behavior is what's really exciting to think through.
Yep. Brave new world, right?
Brave new world, yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about trust as the new ranking signal. In the world that we're talking about and we're all a part of now, it isn't about who paid the most or bid the most for the keyword. It's more about who AI trusts, or even more importantly, who they cite as the most trustworthy source for that. So what are the most important trust signals today, and how do marketers even work with those trust signals?
Yeah, we think about this from the lens of the consumer behavior. And consumers right now, what we're seeing is that when something is overtly AI, there's sometimes this blind spot, right? The consumer just glosses over it and says once they can identify it as fully generative, it doesn't have as much value. So we look at that from the lens of earned trust. How do you earn the trust of the consumer, and then pin that so that there's attribution for creating that content that the consumer can take and say, this is really meaningful, and take it down the funnel. And that is fascinating to us, and the beginning of this journey of how do we expect the revamping of inspiration to purchase work. That's where we are right now at the agency level, and we're trying to build the ecosystem around that idea.
Yep.
Can I? I was going to say one quick thing, but then you go, and then we can talk about each other's things.
You take this one. All right. Yeah.
No, the one thing I was just going to add to that is I think it's also important to optimize for what you are and not where you want to be. I think that's really important, because right now, as people are starting to optimize for AI, there is some people have this drive or this incentive to say, okay, if we optimize our imagery and our text and our headlines in a certain way that we can show up in all these different places, it's great. But to your point that you made earlier, Scott, when you are searching for something and immediately brought down, if a user is finding that they're being brought down to an item that is not what they were looking for, because the optimization was not true to the brand and not true to the actual item, it doesn't just create a bad user experience for the AI, which I'm sure everybody has had using LLMs, but it also creates a bad experience where now you're associating it with the brand. You're saying, well, this LLM now told me that this was a Macy's sweater that I really wanted, but this is not a Macy's sweater. This is something else. So I think it's important to optimize to what you are and what you actually provide to create the best consumer experience.
Yeah, I think too, as a build, and before the role here at Firmly, I spent 7 years running news businesses, actually, kind of odd. Before that, it was eBay, PayPal, Drizzly, but hence the commerce relevance. But within publishing, it's all about trust, right? And if you are creating great content, if you create great value, then I think the LLMs will reward you for that. If you are creating shit, you are not going to be rewarded for that. There are a lot of fake players who are regurgitating content that they did not create. So they should not be getting credited for cutting and pasting, right? We learned about that in grade school and in high school and college. It's called plagiarism, right? So if you are stealing someone's content, if you are just copying someone else's homework, right, then why should you get credit? So I think that if you think about commerce and product recommendation articles, if you have subject matter knowledge and you have authority on specific content, right, then do great, buy it. Don't just write an article because you're getting paid a high commission and you regurgitate and you just create some slop to put out there. That shouldn't be the goal, right? So if you're creating great content, I think these LLMs will reward you. Now, we'll get into this, I think, in other topics, what does the reward look like? How does it all come to life? I think we all got there's a lot to figure out there. But at the end of the day, it's about whether you're being real, I think, and so.
Yeah, trust never goes out of style.
Right, yeah.
Love it. So we've probably all spent the last 10 years at least dealing with search engine optimization, search engine marketing, as we opened with 70% of decrease in searching for all of this. So now you're hearing terms like generative engine optimization as a replacement, GEO, AIO, AI optimization, RAO, retrieval augmentation optimization, which is my least favorite of that. It just sounds weird. But so for 20 years, we've optimized for SEO. But if AI rewrites that search engine result page, the new disciplines around this type of optimization, what does it look like in practice? And where should marketers focus first? I'm going to leave that to you guys to jump in, where whoever wants to go first on it.
So I can take a broad view from the agency perspective. Sure. So what we typically do, I mean, this does look like other businesses and other sectors that we've been in before. And what that means is when consumer behavior shifts, advertising budgets lag. They come, the shift that matches the consumer behavior sometimes takes 3 to 5 years because we have to create an entire measurement framework and ecosystem. We've done this, the example I give is we've just done this with linear television where we had to shift the thinking from linear television to all video, and then we had to create this unified way to measure. We have a product called Lift, which is one of our most successful products because we just helped advertisers through that journey when we knew it happened 3 years ago. We knew that people were not, viewing on traditional television, and that we had, CTV was really kind of the way people were viewing television. So we built a product around that and helped advertisers move into the space. And we just talked about being old enough to remember when mobile was, the iPhone launched in 2007, 2008, and mobile budgets sort of shifted sometime in way later than anyone would think, but probably 2018 when mobile budgets surpassed display budgets, right? So we know that the ecosystem will evolve around how does search move into generative, and we get to build that opportunity right now. And how does attribution work? How do publishers get credited for their content, even if the eyeball hadn't gone to their page. So that's like, big picture.
Yeah, I think the thing I would jump in to say is, I think a lot of the things that you associate with generative engine optimization are things that you're going to benefit from anyway, right? So think of the things like
good business.
Yeah, it's just going to be good business. Having better headlines, having clearer descriptions on your products if you are an advertiser, having clearer imagery, bringing in 360-degree imagery to your websites. I mean, we've kind of talked about a lot of LLM stuff, but also computer vision. As that is continuing to come up and advance further and further, having that 360-degree view of a product that you may have is going to be fundamental to being picked up by any computer vision engine, right? So the company that I've built, we built our own computer vision engine from scratch, and I can't tell you how different it is when we look at brands that have that 360-degree view of an image as opposed to flat imagery, and what the engine learns from more. It's night and day. So I think when we look at optimizing to generative AI or AI in general, it's all just things that are going to be good even for a user. Like a very clear headline, a very clear description is good for me. I'm kind of built like a stocky 9-year-old girl, so when I read a product description, if it says slimmer fit, tighten the shoulders, I go, oh, I can wear that. That kind of stuff is very useful.
Very good.
I leave it all on the floor
I think we
here.
leave it right.
You can end it right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I don't need to wait. Yeah.
Scott's going, I'm not touching that.
I'm out.
I love it. So if you didn't know this, we're all about measurement in this space. And when clicks disappear, it's getting tougher and tougher to measure. So as discovery shifts to AI environments where consumers may not click through at all, how do we need to rethink measurement? And how do we measure success in this landscape? And again, I'll leave it open. You guys seem to have very strong opinions.
I'll jump in. I think, and having this conversation at lunch a little bit, I think that we're trying to bucket everything together into one thing. And I think that there's going to be different measurement that we're going to use for different channels, right? So as we think about AI just in general, or if we want to just go through the lens of LLMs and AI search engines, that isn't going to be the only place where revenue is driven. So like if you think like publishers, right, might lose 30, 40% of traffic, but if publishers are smart, they're going to build real relationships with consumers. They're going to have a strong kind of own and operated in their own traffic where people will come and search and enjoy them. And so in that world, the existing measurement sources that we have in place might very well stay in place, right? Like, I don't think publisher websites are going anywhere. Publisher apps are not going anywhere. You just got to think through the lens of your customers through a proper customer segmentation strategy. That's going to represent X percentage of your business, right? When you then look at LLMs or the AI search engines, they're like with the work that we're doing, whether that be with a publisher or whether that be with a Perplexity or whomever, even though the transaction is happening natively within that user experience, I still see 100% of all the SKU level transaction data that is happening. I can see the order number to the detail, and that information is being shared back to the merchant because the merchant still is the merchant of record, and so the merchant still sees exactly those sales that are being generated there. On the flip side, if you are the platform, right? If you're the Perplexity or if you're a publisher, because that's happening within your ecosystem, you also see what sales are happening. Now, I think the question is going to be, do some platforms decide that they want to take an approach, maybe like a TikTok Shop, where they want to close, they want to shut everything down. They want to close everything into their own world, and so they're going to have their own measurement and their own portal that you're going to have to use in order to understand. And then how does that cross over to some of the things that you're seeing is the agency overseeing all of it? Like, there might be a couple different dashboards and a couple different ways to do it, but it's not. I don't think it's not going to be a one size fits all, and I don't think all of a sudden one piece of our business is going to just disappear overnight. I think there will be some shrinkage in some places, but then there's going to be measurement for whatever's stealing that share. All in all, I think across the board there's going to be growth in the ecosystem holistically.
Yep.
So that's a positive. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just to piggyback on that a little bit, going back to that inspiration point, I think when you're using LLMs, it's hard to track back where the inspiration was, but that's now more important than ever. So understanding what inspired an actual consumer to want to do that search is just as important as the fact that they came from Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever you use. Right. You know, again, not to kind of go back to what I'm doing, but the main reason we're doing what we do is because we're interested in that inspiration point. You're watching Emily in Paris, you're inspired to buy that particular item. Now, when you go to that website, even if you happen to use a promo code at the very end, you were inspired by that show and that idea and that actress or actor or whoever it was. So I think it's now more important than ever to understand in your measurement, obviously you can't say cost per inspiration. It would be lovely.
I kind of like that, though.
Trademark it,
Yeah,
man.
I do.
Okay,
Trademark
we all
it.
do it.
Trademark it.
Yeah.
Okay, so no one heard that.
Yeah, GoDaddy.
It's a-
Go get that URL.
It's a Josh
yeah.
Lanzette special, don't do it. But I do think at a certain point, it's thinking about where that inspiration comes from and then building out your attribution logic so that you actually can put the value in the place where the inspiration happened and you can invest more in that inspiration moment.
Yeah, and when we're having a CMO conversation, the CMO doesn't care about the click. They care about what was the incrementality, what did this media drive for me? And so like the more we can attribute up the funnel, I mean, we're all motivated to kind of figure out the equation there, but like the end conversation is not the click. It's what did the advertising drive?
Right, and I think too, like as a build, like I think one of the things, the debates that every merchant has is, well, wait a second, I want to get the user to my website. I want them to my website, right? And it's like, okay, well, why? Well, that's where they're going to buy
base.
stuff, and I'm going to sell stuff, right? And you're like, okay, cool. You're like, but all right, what's the conversion that you see on your website versus, and the drop off versus just getting to buy right here, right now, right? And it's like it's a bit of a, it's not that they want people to the site, they want the sales, because that's what people want. And so the question is, in what funnels, in what consumer journeys does it make sense to drive them to the site versus get them right there, right now, and then being able to measure all of it holistically is, you know.
I think I liked one of your points about the TikTok shop. So one of the reasons we've been doing so many integrations with all these players, it was a blind spot. Well, TikTok wanted more supply, publishers, creators, influencers. They wanted more demand, advertisers. And so the reason we did the integration, by giving them the supply and demand, we also get the measurement and the tracking. And now we can track anywhere through. That's why we did the integration to Amazon. Again, if we were Mattel selling direct, great. But now if they bought through the Amazon store, we couldn't tell them if it was performing well with their affiliate program. So our approach is going to be integrate with the LLMs, integrate with everybody, and the Trojan horse is the measurement.
Absolutely.
Oh, is that our time is up?
Oh, wow,
What do
that
I
was
hear over
quick.
there?
No,
That was
we got
fast.
we got 16 minutes here. That's someone, the bar, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
So we're getting more controversial. Well, not as controversial as your last 10-year-old girl, quote, but
No, I'm saying I'm built like that. I just want to be clear. You can see it. I don't have broad shoulders.
yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about first-party data, and is that going to be potentially the moat that we use here? So as AI reduces referral traffic and traditional clicks, every party in this room faces the same challenge. You can't rely on external platforms to deliver audiences the way you once did. How critical is first-party data in this new world? What steps should brands, publishers, and agencies be taking to build and enrich and activate that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in on this and talk about the publisher side, and then, but the thing that publishers need to do is the same thing they've always needed to do. You need to have a real relationship with your consumers, right? You need to understand who they are, what they want, so that way you can better service them. And there's a lot of publishers who continue to not take that approach, right? Like, I don't understand, and I say that through the lens, again, I was part of publishers who struggled with that exact thing for the last 7 years, and it just bangs my head against the wall that, like, as a publisher, you're just, you're essentially arbitraging. You get people coming in through the side door, and you serve them some ads, and then they go on their merry way, and like that's all you do, right? Like so. If you're a publisher right now and you look through the lens of what's coming with AI search, is you better have the relationships, right? You better be able to engage them at a user level. I talk to a number of publishers and I say, look, I can give you the SKU level transaction data for all the purchases happen, and a lot of them say I don't want it. Like, what do you? It's because they don't have the capacity. It's not that they don't want it. They all want it. It's like everybody wants it. Yes, I want. But then you say, okay, well, I'm going to give it to you. What do you do? No, I don't have a way to. I can't do anything with it. Yeah, I don't have a place to put it. So that needs to change like yesterday for publishers, and then the ability to actually understand in real time what is being purchased, right, through the links and the articles that are being produced, right, to then turn around and be able to then immediately continue that relationship with the consumer by doing cross-selling, upselling, like different products. Like, I go to a site, when I go to people.com as an example, like the content that they're showing me should be different than the content that they're showing you. Same thing, whether it be articles on like the fact that I got two little girls, so like Taylor Swift and Sabrina Carpenter, they're like oddly like it's in my profile, right? Like it's weird. You're probably way cooler than me, and you got other stuff. So it's like, but also to the content that you're the products that you're recommending to me. Like if you know that I just bought Nike navy blue Air Pegasus sneakers for $150, like why aren't you then sending me a follow-up email that says, hey, here's some other ideas of things that you might want, or next week when I show back up, using that data, like that should be table stakes. It's not right now, and that is going to be. And if I go back to what I said earlier, if you look at your customer segmentation and you say, look, if my most loyal customers are going to be is 20% of the overall pie, then they should drive the line share. You should milk them for all that you possibly can. I should not milk them. Service them, right?
Collaboratively work together.
Collaboratively work together. Thank you, Santi. Right? Like because they're your bread and butter, right?
Important.
Like it's not the people who come and go once in a blue moon. Like you treat them a little differently. The ones that are in the so anyway, I think to me it's table stakes. I'm obviously very passionate about it. You can tell. Right. It's like come on, let's go.
You're seeing East Coast, West Coast difference here.
Yeah.
Well, we truly believe that the earned relationship is at the publisher level. And because of that, the data that you collect is of your consumer, and the ability to know more about your consumer is way more valuable than the third-party data, which we cannot validate. So I can unequivocally tell you two things. One, I'm not cooler than you. And two, that data is really, really valuable.
Where do I sit in that chain? I think you two have established who's on top. I don't know where I am. I love Taylor Swift.
I love it.
Who doesn't?
You brought up one of my favorite stories of the week. So Wade from Fanatics is here, and they do jerseys. They're an incredible company. And I was dying to ask, so what is the Travis Taylor thing doing to your business? And he goes, it blew up on Kansas City jerseys. And she was wearing some brands that weren't, right off the shelf. She had some obscure, fan store stuff, and then they had to quickly manufacture that and push that out. So everything is affecting everything. It's crazy. We're going to talk about social search in a minute here.
We have a Publicis sports partnership with Fanatics that powers our data on the sports side.
So good.
Exactly right.
So, the stories this week have been amazing. I feel so much smarter than I did 2 days ago. Yeah. So let's talk about publishers and creators as the discoverability engine, because I think talking about just LLMs and AI search is ignoring the other half of this. A lot of that content's coming from social and engines. And I remember this, I don't know, was it 7 years ago, where influencers starting to take off. We're going, how are we going to track it? How are we going to measure it? How are we going to, all the same worries that we have, and it keeps coming back to the same problems, our new problems are being solved by tried and true ways of measurement. So AI doesn't generate in a vacuum. It pulls from publisher reviews. It pulls from editorial roundups, forums, creator content. How can publishers and creators ensure that they're not just cited, but also compensated? And how should brands, agencies support this ecosystem so trusted content keeps flowing?
I'm a news guy, and I adamantly believe that everyone who has dollars to spend in this room should be supporting journalism. It's a backbone of our society, and it disappears, we're all screwed. So, But
is it truth dies in darkness? Is that the
yeah, there you go, buddy. There you go. Right. As you think about now the role that LLMs are playing, those brands, right? Those publishing brands have a lot of weight. They have a lot of credibility. So the dollars that you're investing within those places build credibility. They'll help you be seen within the broader ecosystem because they will be trusted by those LLMs. And so the investments that you're making there, I think, really shouldn't be any different than kind of what it has been. It's just that I think going back to one of your questions around trust, the power of a brand, the trust that's there is ultimately what's going to help, I think, drive some of the success that you see more holistically, across the ecosystem.
Yeah, we wear our investment thesis on our sleeve. Like the creator ecosystem for us is we recently bought Influential and Captivate, BR Media, because the creator voice is an authentic voice. They're speaking to their customers in the way that they want to be spoken to, and when we create a brand relationship where there's synergistic value and allow that creator to continue to speak in that authentic voice, that is tried and true. That's going to carry us for the next couple of years into the future, and we're going to build an entire ecosystem around it. And we're creating this value to be able to support the publisher, the creator ecosystem. I'd love to hear ways we can optimize that along the way.
100%. I'm on an edge. I almost want to give you guys a chance to kind of give your synopsis clothing statement rather than do any more questions. You okay if we do that in the last 7 minutes or so that we've got going?
Sure.
We all have opinions, and you want to start us, Josh?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Gosh, what is kind of my swan song for today?
Yeah, if you were going to put a red flag into the ground and
The biggest thing I think I would say outside of the things I've already said, which were all incredibly important, and I hope everybody wrote everything I said down.
It's all being recorded, and AI is already
excellent.
dissecting it.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. They're going to be like, this is where you could have done better. I think that AI exists in many more forms than a lot of us are considering. I think that's really what's important, and understanding how far AI already is and where it plays is incredibly important to understand where your brand is in your own pathway, or where your agency is, or where your publisher is in its own pathway toward AI. I'll give you a great example, and I'm only thinking about this because you mentioned Taylor Swift, and I'm sorry to go back to the Swiftie well again, but I promise it'll be fast.
We got friendship bracelets for all of us.
I wish. Just by show of hands, are there Taylor Swift fans in the room?
Yeah.
No, not just hands. I like a woo. Great. And same show of hands, did anyone go to the Eras tour? Okay, a few people. Those who didn't go, you missed out. But I'll say this, I was at the Eras tour, and I was at SoFi Stadium, and I went to go get me and my wife a bottle of water. And when I went to go get it, I was stopped, my face was scanned, I tapped my credit card, I went in, I grabbed the bottles, and I left.
Amazing.
Right. There were enough cameras in there that the computer vision was able to tell exactly who I was, what I took, when I took it, and then charge me appropriately. That is how far a lot of AI has come that we don't take into account because we talk so much about LLMs. But the world is so much greater than that. So I would encourage you, as you're thinking about transformations in your own worlds, to think about the pieces of AI that are not spoken about, because if we don't start getting on top of those, we all probably use the phrase Kodak moments. Kodak didn't go toward digital cameras. We know how that went for them.
Yeah.
Blockbuster didn't go to streaming, and we know how that went for them. We don't want anyone in this room to be another Blockbuster or a Kodak. Look for the places where AI is still so nascent, which is everywhere, but especially in these places like computer vision. Go forth and kind of take the lead.
Mine is pretty simple, that consumer behavior has shifted, and digital marketing is disproportionately the highest channel allocation is in search. And we know that's being upended. The opportunity right now to rewrite the rules on where that goes and how that gets built should encourage everyone in here who has, high level of entrepreneurial spirit and business acumen. This is the opportunity. There is nothing like this, and there has probably been nothing like this in the advertising space. So,
I think if we look back at history, if we look at the evolution of when e-commerce came and when we think about social, right, when that came, not too different than kind of where we are now with AI, right? The merchants who back in 2000 said, "Oh, sale doesn't count unless it goes to my store," right? Like clearly that didn't work, right? Like they missed out. If you look at social, when Facebook launched, the winning brands were those who leaned in. There was no business model back then either, right? Like so, but those who leaned in, they learned and then they adapted. And so I think that if you look at where we are today with AI, it is fair to say that the biggest AI search engines that we are all the most worried about how that's going to impact consumer behavior or impact our business or upend our business, the rule book hasn't been written yet. They have not defined their specific plans yet. So if they don't know what they're doing, then it's impossible for us to know exactly what we should be doing on our side yet. However, what is critically important is that you lean in and you start to learn. And you start to, whatever learning means, whatever testing you think testing means, it's to lean into it, see what happens with consumer behavior, see what impact that looks at your business, and try to project into the future of where things go. I think if you look past at where we were here at CJU a year ago versus where you are today, there is a massive difference. And when we come back next year, it's going to be incredible to see where the industry ends up. Some answers are going to be found, right? There's still going to be a lot that aren't. But the key is to lean in. Don't let some basic questions or what ifs kind of break your, get you to just stop doing things, right? Like we deal with it every day, all day in the, in different conversations we're having. Like lean in, learn, and you will benefit
100%.
in the short term.
100%. I'm going to end with a few mixed metaphors because I love metaphors. And
Love a mixed metaphor.
So it's going to be disruptive. It's going to be scary. It's going to be massive. It's going to change. We're at the iPod stage of the smartphone. It's so early.
Great. I like that.
Yeah, right?
I've never heard that.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
You can use that. That's where we are. There's quotes, the LLMs right now are the dumbest LLMs we'll ever use in our lifetime. It's going to be so much bigger than this. And one of the ones I like to tell employees every day, I go, if you don't wake up every single morning and you're both not excited about everything you're doing and terrified about everything you're doing, you're probably not doing the right things. Do you want to be on a merry-go-round or do you want to be on a roller coaster? Merry-go-rounds are cute, the music's fun, but roller coasters are a lot more fun. So, okay, no more metaphors.
nailed it. Both of them.
I liked them.
Yeah, well, Chris wasn't here on the opening, but I used this metaphor, and I stole this from Wildfire, their CEO, Jordan Glazer, and because we did an AI conference, the AI4, and we were on a panel like this, and I love this metaphor, but it's like the Dune movies, the Dune book. If you are in that desert and that giant sandworm's coming for you, you can either get devoured by it or you can jump on its back and ride it. And I want everyone here to know we are the most equipped to ride that sandworm through the desert. We measure everything. We understand complex environments. We get our hands dirty. We don't run away from complex problems. We're the ones that are going to help solve this and usher it. We're going to make it measurable. We're going to make it actionable. And I'm more excited than I've ever been in my career, and it's just a fact. So thank you all. You guys are fantastic. You're doing some great things. Thank you all.